talking about koshering, and we're up to the countertops and the sinks. So the sinks, stainless steel sinks that is, it's a porcelain sink, it can't be koshered. So you have to cover it, to clean it well, and it should be covered. Something can't be koshered if you're going to use it. As far as a stainless, it's best if you have an insert. You know, you have one of these plastic containers. Very hard to wash in. If you have plastic containers, you cut a little hole in the bottom for a drain, and use that. But if not, you could put contact paper. You know, it's hard to get on, but usually it stays. You put contact paper going around if you have a porcelain sink, and you should pour. If you pour down the drain, you should pour hot water down, you know, because sometimes it comes up, and it's best you shouldn't allow the food to, you know, the water to come up and back up into the sink. As far as the metal sinks, so that could be koshered. Anything that's koshered with hagala, we said before, has to be left 24 hours first without being used with hot, because you want it to be nice tamufgam. Everything is going to be there. So you leave the sink. The hot water shouldn't be used for 24 hours. Okay, after Shabbos, it's the best time to do it. If the hot water is not used for 24 hours, then you can kosher it. You should everything should be cleaned well. You should boil up a hot pot of water. And someone gave me the suggestion. It's a good way of doing it. What you should do is you take then a small pot, like, you know, one of these egg pots, a small pot, dip it into the hot pot and boil hot water, take out a small amount of water, put it on the next fire, next flame, so it boils up again, because when you take it out, it loses its heat. The pot isn't hot, so it loses its heat. So you put it on small flame again, and then you pour it in the sink. So if this is the side of the sink, you go from down up. You have to get, the word is like this, that the irui, when it hits the side, when it hits the pot, that's what makes the hagola. But if it hits the sink and then rolls, so the second part it hits is only a klisheni, right? We were discussing when we went to Hilch Shabbos. So kli rishon, it's irui kli rishon when it pours, the area of contact, that's the irui kli rishon. When it goes on to the next, when it rolls down the sink, or it spreads, that's not the area of contact anymore. Then the water already loses its heat, because it already hit something, and it's considered a klisheni. Klisheni, you can't do hagola with a klisheni. You can only do it with a klirishon. Here we're makel on irui klirishon because the whole sink is irui. The whole sink got the tray from irui. Things fell in it. So you could do irui klirishon, but when it moves, it's already no good. So therefore, you have to try to get every single spot. That's why if we pour from a big pot and just fill up the sink, it's very nice. The sink is full with hot water, but the only part that you koshered was the part that got contact when the water came out of the pot and hit. So you didn't really kosher your sink. So what you have to do is, you have to take a small pot out, and then you go up. From the bottom, you pour up, and then you do another line up, and then you do another line up, until you go around all the sides of the sink.
Are you not worried that what's on the upper end then drips down? It's not really an issue. What is it?
Who cares? Once you kosher, yeah, it's not an issue. It's not an issue. The issue is just that you want to get all the spots. If you go from top down, you pour the top, it's already sliding down. You want to go from down up, you pour it, and then you go up. And you do around the sides. First thing you should do is the sides of the sink. And then, you could take the big pot and try to pour around to get the bottom of the sink.
Rabbi, can I just clarify? You get clarification? So you're saying you'll do one level in the bottom, but you're not moving up with that same one. It's one level, empty it.
No, I'm saying you go up. You take a small pot,
right,
and then you pour. You take a small pot and you pour as you go up.
Oh, okay.
And then you do another line. Then you do another line.
Oh, just
hopefully you have a thicker pot than this, so it gets a little more area. You do one line, then another line, then another line, and you get it works.
My question was, if you're going up, aren't you losing your heat as you're going up? Like if you do once.
Well, we consider whatever in the pot still a kli rishon.
That's what I meant.
We still consider a kli rishon. So when you're pouring it, it's a kli rishon, even though technically it's not bubbling anymore. And really for hagola it has to bubble, but again, since the whole sink became treif through irui, so you could kosher.
I always use a kettle. And even
electric
when
kettle.
plugged in, and you've got the spout.
Yeah, so you could use a kettle and it's plugged in and it's even hotter. That's a Milo, but the only problem I have with it is that it has a small spout. So you have to be careful. A small spout, you're only going to get a small area. So you have to be careful to get all the area. If you pour it, you go quick. You go quick over the area. You have to. The point is, you got to get the whole sink. You can't splash one part and go to the next. Use a small pot. It's a little wider, so then you could get a bigger area on your first hit.
Every time you do it, you put the small pot back on the flame. Like that small pot, you put back.
And then you fill it up again, put it on the flame a second, and then do it. Now, alternately...
Second on the flame already makes it a pollution?
What?
Second on the flame already makes it a pollution?
It starts bubbling already. Wait, it starts bubbling. It's bubbling in the pot, so you take it out, you put it on there, it starts bubbling. The truth is, a big pot takes a long time to bubble. If you take it out and put it on, it bubbles much quicker. Another eitzah is, and it's kedai to do maybe both of them I do, is that you should get tongs if you're kashering, and you should take a rock. It doesn't have to be a large rock. I get a couple of rocks. It could be, half the size of my fist, so smaller. Go to the backyard, pick up get some good rocks, and you put it on the element and you heat it up. It gets hot, so don't touch it. It doesn't look hot. It looks like a rock. But put it on the element and you turn it on and you heat it up and it gets hot. You do this while you have all your. It's hot in the kitchen. You have all your flames going, kashering pots and the other pots, and you put the rock on the thing. Now it becomes an Evan Malubin. Once you have an Evan Malubin, so what happens is, so you pour the water, you can put the rocks in the sink. You put the rocks in the sink, and when you pour the water, the rocks actually, you'll see it sizzles. The water sizzles, so it actually brings the water that comes in contact to the rock to the level of a hagolah, to make hagolah. So even if the water, let's say, fell in one area of the sink, but you move the rock around, you take your tongue and move the rock around to around the bottom of the sink, and that heats up the water near the rock, and that keeps the whole thing, keeps it in the level of a kli rishon.
At which point do you do this? You do this at the beginning?
Well, you're doing the bottom. It's hard to do on the sides.
So before you pour the big pot on the bottom, you're saying do the rocks. Yeah,
put the rocks in and pour it in.
Steamer would work, no?
A steamer would work also. We'll get to steamer in a minute. Steamer work also. By the bottom of the sink, you'll notice that many times you have by the drain, so you have it's a separate piece of metal that was melted on, so you have a crevice over there.
They actually have rubber there sometimes. Not rubber, but plastic, to seal it.
So many times there's a little crack there, which is hard to clean. So it's another mile. If you have it, the rock does a liban cow. You just put it around the bottom there, so it'll burn out anything that's in there.
I'm sorry, what's it get the liban cow again? Sorry.
It's a light burning. It's a light burning, so you push it around, and that takes care of that area. So that's the. Some people use a hot iron. Unplug it if you want your house to stay around for Pesach. Unplug the iron, but to use a hot iron. So then if you have water in there, and then you a small amount of water, then you put your hot iron around. For a sink, it's not necessary. A sink is a small area, you could just do what I said. But if you're talking about kashering a countertop, it could get quite difficult. If you want to kasher the best answer for a countertop is just to clean it well and cover it. That's the best thing to do for a countertop. Make sure it's clean. Some people kasher it and cover it, but all you have to do is clean it well and cover it, because kasher a countertop is very difficult, because again you have to get every spot. So if you're going to pour water, you're going to start pouring water on every spot across the whole countertop. You'll have a marble in your house.
Although steamer again.
We'll get to the steamer, but the easiest thing to do is you clean it and you cover it. How many days is Pesach already? You get a nice covering. They sell these plastic coverings that go around on top. You put it on, and it's done.
Do we need to differentiate what the kind of countertop is?
The only countertops that could be kosher, most countertops, from Micah, could be kosher maybe, and maybe not. So Shiloh, yeah. The marble ones, the stone, the granite ones, those could be kashered. So those you could kasher technically, but again, it's very hard to kasher. You have to make sure you get every spot, and it's not so simple to do it.
It's not just a matter of pouring water.
You can't just pour water, oh very nice, my finger's kasher. You have to make sure that take the pot and pour it again. There go across the whole thing, and they go to the next one.
That temperature touching each part of the can.
And I want to tell you, it's also, they don't recommend kashering it too often because they do put a film on it. Even on the granite ones, they put a film of plastic and you strip it, so you end up having to redo it every 2 years or so,
Right.
if you kasher it. So it's not so recommended to kasher it either. You know, if you buy one, you want to kasher it from being treif to kosher, fine, so you do it once, you kasher it, you know. But for Pesach, the best thing is to cover it. But if you want to kasher it, so either you could do that, you could go on every spot. Now, there's a halachic shayla on a steamer. If you have a steamer is easy. You could just go over every area.
What is a steamer? Am I the only one who gets
Jeremy,
what a
you're on.
steamer is?
So basically, it's a small heating device with a small tank underneath. It's portable and movable. It's electric. It's plugged in the whole time. Boils the water, and literally it exits as hot steam. Yeah, and there's different kinds you can get, but Canadian Tire has them. Walmart has them. Walmart's more expensive, by the way.
Now, I believe there's two kinds. There's one kind that actual water comes out. You can squirt out water. And I don't know if they have in the home ones and industrial ones they have that. And then there's one where only steam comes out.
Yeah, these are usually steam.
Now, if it's only steam, there's a shaila if you could kasher with steam. It could be you need a kasher with water. They could kasher with water, not with steam. So, certain industrial machinery which gets treif with steam, so they kasher it with steam, there's certain coolest, but the countertop where you actually may put the stuff down on directly, especially granite, you can put hot stuff on, you may actually put a hot challah on it or something, so it has blias of chametz in it, so really you have to kasher with water, not with steam. So there's some poskim that are makel, you could do with steam anyways, it's only iwi, it's only became also iwi, you could do with steam. Kach shamati, there's some that are makel. But the best way to do it is to have also to pour water on the countertop, but now you don't have to be makbid to get every spot. You could just pour a thin layer of water from your pot, from your hot pot, and then take the steamer and go over it, and that would be like your Evan Mulovin, that will go ahead and heat it up. The direct spot where the jet of the heat, the steam comes out, will reboil that up to Yatzaledis. So if you pour the water on, do let's say a square of a countertop at a time, pour water on it, then take your steamer and go over it, then pour a little water on the next spot. There should be a little bit of water, just a thin film of water on the bottom, and then when you steam it, so you have both smilus, you have the water and the steam is... the
steamer's going to superheat whatever water is sitting there.
Right.
Okay, how important is it for the boiling water to be in a Pesach for chlorine?
Okay, so that's a good question. So now what pot am I using to boil up the water with? So, me'ikar adin, it doesn't matter, as long as the pot is clean, but for where noyeg, the Mishabur is it down, the minig is to use a Pesach tikka pot or a chametz tikka pot is kasher. Now either way you have to kasher the pot. If you use a chametz tikka pot, you have to kasher it, and then you could use it to pour on to clean out your sink. If you're using a Pesach tikka pot, you're going to have to kasher it after you use it to kasher your sink. Now, to kasher a pot is not so difficult, but it just takes time. You have to have time when you can't be in a rush. You have to have time when you're doing your kitchen. You fill up your pot with hot water till the top. Fill it up to the top, and it starts bubbling. And then you insert something when it's bubbling. You can either insert one of these hot rocks I told you about. Just drop it in slowly into the pot, and it bubbles over. You make the rock hot, you dump it into the pot, and it spills over the side. Then your pot is kosher. As long as it spills over the edge, it's kosher. Or you could take another small pot, okay, fill it up with water from a little bit of water from the sink. Doesn't have to be much. Put it on the flame till it's hot. But then when it's hot, just dip in the pot slightly into your larger pot till it spills over. The reason why you need something hot, because if you put something cold in the water, it will cool off the water. The water that's spilling over will cool off, and it won't be hot enough to go. So you have to put something hot in. So either you put a hot rock in, or you take a small pot, which is easier. Take a small pot, put a little water on the bottom so the pot doesn't burn. Put it on the fire, and when it's ready, you take it and you dip it in, and then just a slightly amount, it spills over the top, and your pot is kosher with Pesach. You don't have to bring it in here for them to do necessarily.
What about for a kettle?
For a kettle, just fill it up. For a kettle, see, a kettle anyways is a kettle. Anyways, not really used for chametz. It's really just used for water. Yeah, the shell's only the steam when you pour into your coffee. It doesn't really have chametz in it anyways. So you could just do the same thing. You just boil it up until it steams.
But if you use
At the bottom
a
of
kettle during the year to make oatmeal, for example.
Yeah, so the steam will go up. This is shell the going up. That's a good question. So how you kasher it? So
Should you have a separate kettle?
you could just fill it up and let it steam over. And then what I would do is to spout, I would dip into another pot of boiling water. If you have a pot of boiling water, I would dip the spout in. If you pour, because you pour from there, that's the part that gets there. So I'd just dip the spout into a pot of boiling water. You don't have to kasher the whole thing. You don't have to dip the whole thing in. Just dip the spout in. You fill it up so it cooks on the inside. It gets kasher, and you just dip the spout into to another boiling thing, and that will kasher it.
Instant hot, the same thing?
What?
The spout? Instant hot, you have these,
It's a hot water maker.
yeah. It's like permanent in the sink, boils up, and then if you want hot water, you just push the button and it comes up.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, you could just put
Just take the pot and put it up.
put the spout in. Yeah.
But the plastic the kettles, a lot of them, they're plastic.
Even plastic, you can kasher like that.
Hmm?
You're talking about you want to use it for Pesach. See, a kettle, if you can use it for Pesach, it's best to have a separate Pesach kettle. But if you're using to kasher, anyways, it's only a chumrah. You don't have to. You could use a chumrah stick, I think, to kasher. It's just a chumrah, so you could do that. If you're using it for Pesach, it's best to have a separate kettle for Pesach, especially a plastic one. It's best to have a separate one.
If you have a grate, like at the bottom of the sink, steel grate, but they have little feet, I don't know if it's rubber or plastic, one or the other. That's not really kasherable, I'm assuming, the plastic, right? The plastic or rubber, whatever's at the bottom, the little feet.
It's a separate piece. It takes out.
So yeah, the grate comes out, and then, so that the sink doesn't get scratched, there's a little fuselage on the bottom, and they're covered by plastic or
It's
rubber.
a separate piece you buy. So don't do it the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great.
So you would just take out the grate for Pesach?
The grate itself is plastic.
No, grate's stainless steel.
Yes, you can kasher it.
But then there's this little feet at the
Doesn't
bottom.
matter. You can kasher it.
The plastic feet? So how would you do that? While you just leave it in there when you're kashering your sink?
Water on it.
While you're kashering
Do
your
it.
sink?
You don't want it to stop the kasher. No, you have to do it separately. You got to kasher the bottom of the
Because
sink,
otherwise
and
it's
then put
against
it
the
in.
sink. It can't be touching the sink.
Pizza.
Yeah.
But you could kasher that and then still use it on
Kasher
Pesach?
Yeah, you kasher it. It cleans well. If it's a clean well, has cracks in it? No.
I'd have to look.
You have to check. If you can clean it well, and you can kasher it. Because leaving cow on it also, you can stick in your oven. Okay.
Well, that's for the steel grate, but it's got these
Yeah.
plastic feet
Oh,
on them. That couldn't go
yeah.
in the oven.
Okay, that's basically the
Why
kashering.
didn't you kasher the pot afterwards? The pot.
Because it gets it's a chomer. Because while you're pouring it onto the chomer, it's when you put chametz in
Put
it.
something inside it.
Yeah. You put something inside it, so then you're making it chametz stick.
You know, it's only not by not.
Yeah, it's a chomer. It's chomer Pesach. It's not banat. It's a nice amfkam. There's all the terms. It's chomer Pesach. We kasher it afterwards. Anything you can use if you use the kashering, you kasher it afterwards. You just do another boil. You boil it up again, and you put something in, spill it over. And then let your wife mop the floor when you're done.
Should make you mop
Okay.
The good kosher tubes guy who just sticks that.
Okay, I think that covers the kashering. If there's any other questions you can ask. I'd like to go to Yonei HaSeder. Unfortunately, I didn't make copies of this. We had out for Shabbos, but they're all gone. Some shiurim for Matzah and Mara. We'll send it out on the email, so anyone who wants to have the emails not on our email list should put it in. We'll send that out on the email. Some shiurim. Well, I'd like to go through the inyan of Matzah a little bit. We have some more time here. So, questions that come up. First, what is Shmur Matzah? I guess we'll start with that. What is Shmur Matzah? What is not Shmur Matzah? What is it? So the halacha is like this. that matzah has to be watched. From the time, so the Gemara says like this: there's two kinds of matzahs we have on Pesach. There's regular matzah we eat during the whole Pesach, and then there's matzah that we yotze by the Seder night. There's matzah that we yotze by the Seder night. So the matzah that we yotze by the Seder night has to be done l'shem matzahs mitzvah. Okay, we do it l'shem matzahs mitzvah. That's why if you go to the matzah bakery, you have a guy screaming there, l'shem matzahs mitzvah. You know,
Signs up there.
Signs up there, screaming, they're yelling, they're doing it. Everything has to be done. The whole process l'shem matzahs mitzvah. But the question is, from what point do we start watching it l'shem matzahs mitzvah? So the Mechaber says like this. Hachitim, now we're talking again, remember, we're talking about the matzahs that you're using for the Seder night. We're not talking about chametz. Any matzah that's not chametz, you can eat all Pesach. It's not chametz. We're talking about matzahs that you're using for the first night and the second night, you put sides. So it says like this: Hachitim shoyis ben matzahs mitzvah toiv l'shoymim sh'layipolei mayim mishas katzira. It's best to watch it from the time that it's cut, that no water comes. This is Mechaber and Shulchan Aruch. Ulepachas mishas tchina, from the time it's ground, at least from the time it's ground. B'shas adchak, you can't get anything. Mutar likach kemach menashok, you can even buy flour and bake matzahs. Now that halacha, I'm just going to put that in right now, is not relevant today, like the Mishnah says, because the flour today comes in contact with water. They bleach it, they rinse it, they wash it. A person can't buy flour and make matzah. He has to get special flour that didn't come in contact with water. So, but the question is, from what point do you have to watch that? Do you have to have a special shmira, or you could just assume that it didn't touch water? From what point do you have to have a special shmira? So there's a machlokes, and there's actually a three-way machlokes: either from the time of the tzira when it's cut, or from the time of the tchina, or from the time of the lisha. So many Rishonim hold from the time you start kneading it. Now, looking at Taz and the other Achronim, there could be a difference, which could be very relevant to halacha, we'll see in a minute, between the type of shmir it has before the lisha, the kneading, and after the lisha. The lisha is when they start screaming l'shem matzahs mitzvah. They start, when you're doing it, you're actually doing an action. Once you put water together with the flour, it's going to start rising. So we have to start being careful that the dough shouldn't rise. You have to keep on kneading it, and you shouldn't leave it for a second. You shouldn't put it near where it's hot. So there you need an active shmira. You have to actively be on top of it that it shouldn't become chametz. So there, the person that's kneading it possibly has to have in mind he's doing it l'shem matzahs mitzvah, in order for me to use it on the same night. And the question becomes, let's say you have a cotton, or you have non-Torah mitzvahs, which they have. Sometimes they have these Russian ladies or others that are not necessarily Shem Torah mitzvahs doing it. So does it help that someone else is standing on the side, yelling at them that they should do it l'shem matzahs mitzvahs, or machlokes, go to Leimin al-Gabav, if that helps.
Machine shmur.
And machine, that's a machine in that. So that's the, because there you're actively working on the matzah. So maybe the person that's actually working on it has to plug in the lishma, has to do it l'shem matzahs mitzvah, and that shouldn't become chametz. The process before that, where you're not actively doing anything, there it could be you could be standing on the side, and it's watched l'shem matzah. It's watched l'shem matzah. You know, you don't have to be the one that's cutting it. You don't have to be the one that's grinding it. Maybe even you don't have to be the one that's doing it. You could be standing on the side and watching it. That could be enough, because it's a different process. It has a different halacha. So that's l'shem. That's for the shmur matzah for the seder. So that's why you'll get some. You'll see it says on the box. Shmur, what we call generally shmur matzah is something that was watched mishas ktsira, from when it was cut. That's a person should be toiv, a person should be machmer for the Seder night to use those matzahs that were washed from mishas ktsira, and if you can't, at least mishas tchina. Most of the matzahs, I believe, most of the matzahs are washed mishas tchina.
Well, what is that? Sorry.
Is that
When it starts grinding, yeah.
Grinding.
So you should check. I believe I didn't check, but I believe that the regular stam matzahs that are not matzahs shmura are to wash mishas tchina. So also shmura, just not shmura from the first sheet.
But any Pesach?
Maybe it's mishas lisha. I don't know. You have to check the boxes. But that's what it is. There's mishas ksir, mishas tchina, mishas lisha. So to use for the Seder night, one should use a matzah that was shmura, washed from before. For the rest of Pesach, where you don't need l'shem matzah smitzah, as long as it's not chametz, you can eat it. So you can eat any matzah that's not chametz, that is chazak is not chametz. The Goin held that you have to have it shmura for all Pesach. That's why there are many that are machmer only to eat shmura matzah the entire Pesach. Right?
This is where the machine shmura comes.
No.
No. Shmira, we'll get to the machine in a moment. But
We're just talking about regular Pesach matzah.
I'm not talking about whether it's done off the machine or done. Even machine could be the wheat was washed from shas ksir. So we'll get to the machine in a moment. But any matzah, whatever you're using, should be washed from. So the Goin held everything should be washed from. Anyways, it's kedai, whatever kind of matzah you get, if it's washed from tchina, it's washed from. But Yisrael kadoshim heim. Chametz takes a second. One, if you go to the matzah bakeries, you get a picture. It's kedai. Make a trip. One year we should make a trip to the matzah bakeries to watch and see what the issues are, what could come up, what couldn't come up.
That'd be great.
But a lot of things that you need shmira for a reason. A lot of things that could happen that could cause it to become chametz, and therefore, we're extra careful on Pesach. So a person should be extra careful what kind of matzah he buys and what matzah meal.
Why would you not just have shmura throughout Pesach? I mean, why would
Expensive.
It's more
Well,
expensive.
the handmade.
But you can get machine shmuras. Machine shmura is also
It's also more expensive.
more expensive.
Maybe on your salad.
Less expensive than handmade, I see. But what,
Say here what halach is. What you want to do with it?
but from a halachic perspective, why wouldn't they just make it all like that?
So that mechayiv to. You have no mechayiv to. You're not mechayiv to. Yeah. Now, question with machine.
Before we get to that one.
Yeah.
What about these people who do it make their matzah on Friday?
So what's the people that make the matzah erev Pesach?
Friday.
Erev Pesach. So that's matzah's mitzvah. So halach and shulchan aruch that a person should make a matzah's mitzvah on erev Pesach, and the Hasidim are very machmer on it. Because it could be that's the ikar zman of mad here. Tov nun ches. Are you asking the question? I have to give the proper answer. Tov nun ches is like this mitzvah lolush hamatzah be'erev Pesach. Noigim shloi lolush matzah be'erev Pesach ad achar sheishoy shuzman akov is called Pesach. So they after chatzos they start making the matzahs. Now you can imagine, I'll just tell you a meiser. Maybe I should turn this off. I'll tell you a meiser. I'll leave it to the Scheiner. That the Hasidim they make the matzahs. A lot of them the matzah smitz after chatzos. So Rabbi Hirschman was going with I think it was Rabbi Seifer. He makes the matzahs in the Alter Yisayte downstairs. They have a matzah oven there. They make matzahs mitzvah. So he came there to watch. So he's standing there. So he said, "No, you're going to have some matzah mitzvah." So he says, "I'll eat your matzah mitzvah and eat my kanedloch on Pesach." So they don't eat kabrachs, but they eat matzah mitzvah. But we're chayshish by the Litva Sharlim. We're very nervous because it's after this man. It's after this man of Issa Chametz. So before this man is Chametz, Chametz is bakel b'shishim. After this man is Chametz, it's b'mashu. So there's a mashu of chametz could be yosef. So whatever the chashashas are, you can imagine it's compounded. If there's a drop of chametz in there, it's asif, finished. So therefore, by the stam oilum, we forget about matzah mitzvah. Forget about it. We're not going to touch it. We're not going to go near it.
Is the problem owning chametz at that point? Is that the issue?
It's eating it. So you got to eat the matzahs.
No, but even if you don't eat it and you're making it that late.
There's a problem. Yeah, there is a problem with all the extra dough. If there's extra something on the side, there's a little bit on the side that stays for past 18 minutes. It could become chametz. So obviously you got to quickly burn that all and get rid of it. But you're right. There is a shiloh as long as you're Isaac and the beer chametz.
That's what's different about that time versus.
Yeah, it's a very tense time. You don't want to have chametz around, and you're baking dough. So those that have a minhag, it's for shalocha and shulchan aruch. It's for shalocha. It comes from iska shachil smatzil korban Pesach. We do it as man korban Pesach. But one has to be very careful. One has to be very careful that it shouldn't be chametz. So therefore, the brisker litvish oil will get too nervous for this. It's but so that's what the matzahs mitzvah is. Now, machine matzahs. So machine matzahs are like this. It's an old shiloh. Now the machinery is much more changed and sophisticated, and there's a lot of different types of machinery. So it's hard to say a blanket statement for all the machine matzahs. There are those that won't touch machine matzahs, and there are those that won't touch hand matzahs. We'll only eat machine matzahs. So like a good old Klal Yisrael, that's different than Hagim. Someone told me that there was a person that only ate machine matzahs, and he was in a town, this is in Europe, where they wouldn't touch machine matzahs, so he was invited to a seder, but he had to have his own placemat with his machine matzah, That's everybody has him in Hagim. So the story is like this. There's two questions. There's one question was Lishma. I'm talking about making it Lishma, and the question is, if I'm not actually doing it, it's done by a machine, is it possible to do it Lishma? So could I have it for the Seder night? So there's a big machlokes in the early Achronim, they all have tshuvas on it. And Chazon Ish himself has a lot on it. So Chazon Ish writes that about it, he considers it Lishma, the fact that you're turning on the machine. Chazon Ish holds that some of the machines have, when you hold down the button it goes, if you let go it stops. So he says that's for sure good, because while you're holding it goes. So then you can have it Lishma. And based on the Ritva holds, you could just be standing on the side and having Lishma. The other shittas, so there are a lot that are, Chazon Ish writes you could do it, but Lamaisa, the Chazon Ish told people not to use it for the Seder. And Stipler says, so we don't use it for the Seder because he says not to use it. So Hagam that in Shuvah he wrote that you could use it, he said not to use it. And the whole machlokes is, use it, not use it. Everybody should do whatever his minhag is. If minhag is used, it says what to be samech on this. Chaim said you're allowed to use it to machine matzahs and for the Seder if it's done l'shma. Not every machine matzah is done l'shma. You have to make sure it's done l'shem matzahs mitzvah. The second issue that comes, so that's a question halachically if it's goyim, a grama through your action, by turning on the machine, is that called, or you're putting the matzah into the machine, is that called enough of the action that you're doing it l'shma? The other issue comes at the issue of chametz. Now on one hand the machine is much better. The machine is a machine, it's precision, you're not going to have any chashash chametz on it, it's going to work much better, and therefore there are many people that even if they don't use the machine matzahs for the Seder night, they're makbid. I know people that are makbid, a lot of the yekis are makbid, only to eat machine matzah during the whole Pesach, not to eat hand matzah. Because hand matzah, you're totally on people. People make mistakes. Machines don't make mistakes. So that's a lot of people don't eat machine matzahs. The matzah itself, you have folds, you have from the fuchas, you have machine matzahs, they all come as comes.
So it's inconsistent.
Yeah, it's inconsistent. Yeah, machine matzahs are much less of a chashash. But I say this you have to really know each factory what they do. The machine is only as good as the people that are running the machines, and the machines have to be cleaned every 18 minutes. And there are different parts of the machines where some Scheiner will clean, some people will clean, and some people are more machmir to clean more parts of the machines. And you have to know, again, all these questions are they're only as good as the person behind it. You understand? There's
factor even with machines.
Even machines. They saw they have a chabur machine, chabur matzah machine. Again, chabur matzah machine, which means there's people that just like they have chabur matzahs. We're familiar that chabur matzahs handy, and the chabur get together and they do it with their chum. You see, when you go to a matzah bakery, they're very efficient and they can do it a lot better than you can do it. but it's a little mass production.
Right.
They go very, very quick. They do a lot. The more matzahs they make, the more money they make. So when they have chaburas, they rent out for whatever hour, and they can make whatever matzahs they want to make. So in a way, they can be more careful if they know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. The people that are more experienced are better.
You can make that case with handmade. So from that standpoint, all things being equal, you want people who have your shemayim using machine. Then you should do.
So machine also. There's a concept that made a chabur machine. They're in charge. They take it over and they clean it. But what I'm saying is that the matzahs are as good as the people behind the matzahs are, and that's what it is. So there's a milo to machine because it's precision. It's what it is, and that's where it goes. And there's a milo to hand because hand you get rid of everything every 18 minutes and you start again afresh. Well, as far as the machine is still there. So you have to know how it's cleaned. Each part of the machine, how it's cleaned. If it's done properly.
I heard that a lot of the opposition to the machine matzah was it was taking away parnasa from almonas, and traditionally it was almonas who
did the matzahs.
Who would be making the matzahs.
Could be. I don't know.
I remember reading that.
Could be. The shaila is also if there's a makar for this round matzahs on the seder. If al pisoid, if there's a reason to dafka have round matzahs, so you could have square matzahs on the seder.
Isn't there also an aspect of the shear when you break the nuts in half? Do you have enough in the machine?
So we're going to go through the shiurim now. I don't know how much time we have left. I'd like to go briefly through the shiurim.
What's preferable, machine or hand? After
all these things, the most important thing a person could do is keep to the minhag that he always had, because everything has a source. Everything has a source.
Yeah. That's right.
And a person has to.
About shuvas, it's a problem.
It is. You have to hop on to a group, to a Rebbe. To a Rebbe, you have to have a Rebbe. You have to have someone. The Gemara says like this. The Gemara says that a chabura, when they used to make the korban Pesach, a chabura shel gerim was possible for a korban Pesach. In other words, they used to eat the korban Pesach b'chabura. You get a group together, a few families together, and join to make a korban Pesach. So gerim, we love gerim, but we don't make a chabura just of gerim. Why? Because they don't have a messiah from their parents how to do the korban. There's so many halachas that are that are very intrinsic and very detailed that you need to get training in it, how to do it, how you eat the korban, you can't leave anything over, how you roast it, how you this. It's very complicated, and you don't do it every day, you do it once a year. So therefore, you have to do the way it's done on the Haim, it's the way it was done. That's how you have to do it. So you have to have at least one family there that has, this is the way we did it at home, that's a Myra. That's how Klal Yisrael is built. What's more important than anything else is the Messiah we had back. That's why we were very, very careful.
That on that basis, machine matzah would never start.
That's definitely one of the kuvim in the machine matzah. There's no Messiah on it. I believe that's what the Chazon Ish did. Even though he held in the Ikra Adin is kosher, and he writes in all his form, he says he could use machine matzah. But when people asked him, he told them not to use it because he felt we don't have a Messiah on it. We don't have a Messiah on it. So, this is especially on Pesach. This is a very important thing. It's important b'chlal. It's important that the person has to have a Messiah, and you pick it up, you can get it from someone, but there's certain kehilos that do certain things, and there's certain kehilos that do differently. They're both correct, but, we don't like to, some Sofi used to say, Chodesh Osim and HaTorah. New things are Osim and HaTorah, This is the question. So just go through the shiurim over here. So we have the sheet. I wasn't able to get copies of it. We had them out, but they're all gone now. So I'll send it out in the email. What was not on the email, I could just give it here. It's a little hard to read, so I'll just go through it a little bit. The shiurim from matzahs, the crisis we'll go through next week. It's not on the list, but next week we'll go through the Seder. I'd like to go through the Seder.
Next week? This class.
We'll do it next week, and we'll go through the Seder a little bit, the Yamei Seder. But I'll just go through the matzah this week. So Rabbi Hirschman measured it out himself, and this is what he came out with. That what the shear of matzah is, how much is a kazayis? First we have to know how much a kazayis is, and then we have to know how many kazayis we have to eat to be able to matzah, okay? So the shear of kazayis, according to Grachnar, there are basically two shiurim we're saying today. One of them is the Grachnar, that's the cooler shear. Then we have the Chazon Ish, he's the bigger shear, okay? So bear in mind, there's two shiurim. There's the grachno shir and there's the chazanah shir. The grachno shir is one, if translated into 1 fluid ounce, is a kazayas, and the chazanah shir is 1 2/3 fluid ounce. We go through the whole cheshbon here, but basically it comes out that it's hard to know with the hand matzahs because each matzah is a different size, each type of matzah is different. But basically, if you have 6 to 7 matzahs per pound, so if you have 2 pounds, you're talking about 13 matzahs in a 2-pound box. So then each matzah has in it about 5 fluid ounces. So what you're talking, according to the grachna, that 1/5 of the matzah is a kazayas, according to the grachna. Now, according to the chazanish, it's going to be closer to 2/5, less than 2/5, but closer to 2/5 would be a kazayas. How much do I actually have to eat? That's of a matzah. Again, we'll call it a medium-sized matzah. It could be if the matzahs are very thin and a little small, so maybe you'll have 15 matzahs in a box, so then you'll have to eat a little more to get a kazayas. Okay, you'll have to eat more than 1/5 for a kazayas. Okay, bear that in mind. That's the size matzahs. Now, how does that translate into our seder? So by the seder, we actually eat 5 kazesim of matzah. Okay, we have 3 times we eat matzah. In the beginning, after you make a moitzi and a moitzi matzah, that's the first time you eat. Then you eat koirach, and then you eat afikoyim. Now, by the moitzi matzah, we make 2 brachas. The general minhag of the olam, maybe next week a little more. General minhag, except the norm is, there are others that have different minhagim, because you have 3 matzahs. When you have 3 matzahs, why do we have 3 matzahs? Because the top and bottom matzah is the lechem mishnah, they're whole, and the middle matzah we broke. We put half away for the afikoyim, so that's not whole. But that middle matzah is really the one I want to be yotzim my mitzvahs matzah with. That's the lechem oini, that's the broken one. So, but the top and the bottom I have for lechem mishnah. So I hold all 3 matzahs and I make hamotzi lechem menorets. Then I drop the bottom matzah because I don't need it anymore. I already made my hamotzi, and I have the top 2 matzahs and I make a moitzi matzah, make a alchilus matzah. Now there's a machloikis, different shittas, which is my matzah I'm being yotze with, A, and B, I want to eat a kazayas from my hamotzi lechem menorets, just like every Shabbos I make hamotzi, I eat a kazayas. Plus, I want to eat a kazayas from my matzah's mitzvah. So what you're actually doing is you're eating a kazayas from the top matzah and a kazayas from the middle matzah. And let's say I'm only one guy to say it without the rest of my family, so I take a kazayas from the top matzah, I take a kazayas from my moitzi matzah, and I start eating, and I eat 2 kazayas. Bear in mind, this is only a chumrah. Me'ikar adin, I only have to eat 1 kazayas, but I'm actually eating 2 kazayas. Okay? By koirach I eat 1 kazayas, and by afikoyim, again we eat 2 kazasim, and it's very unclear why we're eating 2 kazasim by the afikoyim. And the halacha, we can't get enough time to get into it.
Very hungry still.
You're very hungry, yeah.
Because it might be biblical, this is Korban Pesach, maybe?
Maybe it's Korban Pesach, maybe it's the Iker Matzah. We eat 2 kazasim. There's a machoikas, which is the real matzah at the beginning, or by the afikoyim. We eat 2 kazasim by afikoyim. It's a minhag and it's a chumrah. But me'ikar adin, I only need 1 kazayas the whole night. I only need 1 kazayas. So therefore, we'll get to next week what you do with the family, giving it out, how should you work your matzah. We'll leave that for next week. I just want to get to how much you should eat, what the share is. Therefore, since 2 kazesim is a chumrah, I could take the smallest share for 2 kazesim. What I want to really get is 1 kazayis, I'm yotzim my deraisa, and the 2 kazesim I can use a small share. So therefore, if I have 2/5 of a matzah, okay, 2/5 of matzah, I have 2 small kazesim, and I for sure have a chazanish of 1 kazayis, so no problem. So approximately he says you could be yotze for 2 kazesim. He comes out in his measurements 1/3 of a matzah. 1/3 of a matzah you could be yotze your 2 kazesim. Because 1/3 of a matzah, for sure you have the chazanish for 1 share, plus you have the smaller 2 share. Now, I want to point out there's a shita that holds that you only need a third of a kazay. You only need 2/3 of a. You only need a third of a beya for a kazayis, so a shlish beya. So therefore, you really only need 2/3 of a fluid ounce for a kazayis. So for a cotton, for example, or a chayla, that can't eat so much, you could give him 2/3 of a fluid ounce, which is a bit less. It's less than 1/5 of a matzah.
But 2/5 is more.
This is a hand matzah. 2/5 is more than 1/3.
Yeah. So how?
Yeah, because you could go lakula on the second kazayas, so you can make a. He says 2/3 of a.
Not 2/3 of a month. 2/3
of a kabeya. 2/3 kabeya. So it comes out makes a cheshbon that you could do 1/3 of a matzah. You could be yotze. Again, you have to remember that the second kazayis is a chumrah. It's not mekradin. The frak for the other people on the seder who don't even have 2 matzahs. For me, I have 2 matzahs. I want to be machmer. I want to have a big share of 2 kazesim, one for the top matzah, one for the bottom matzah. But everybody else at the seder, they don't even have 2 matzahs. They're just taking whatever they're taking. So that for sure can be mekel. So 2/3 of a the stipler used to give out, just to give an example, a stipler used to give out the size of his hand. He would give out, the matzah would be the size of his hand, about this big. He would give that out for the moisi matzah to his family. He held that was 2 kazesim. So that's what he used to give out. So we don't have to go overboard. We don't have to go overboard. We're eating 2 kazesim, zichar yoser or 1 kazais. This is on a hand matzah. Machine matzah, a half of a machine matzah is 2 kazesim. Half of a machine matzah, you can be yoser with that. A machine matzah is 2 fluid ounces per 1 ounce of matzah. You have to figure out how many are in there. But he says that half of a machine matzah is enough. Now this should be eaten within a share of kazei achilas pras. So one second. So that's for moitzi matzah and for the afikoyim. For the koyrach, you only need 1 kazayis, so they only need 1/5 of a matzah for the koyrach, for the sandwich.
There's no chumrah in the.
There's no chumrah. You don't need 2 kazayis. That's all the rabbanon. It's a minhag. Zeichel mitzvah kehilu. You already yotzi your matzah with the other one.
So both you're saying hamotzi and afikomen. You only technically need 1 kazayis, and the second one is
a chumrah. Yeah. Now for I just want to end off that this should be eaten. This is the hard part. This should be eaten in 1 gulp. We're not going to discuss that this week, but it should be eaten within 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes is a shir achilas pras chumrah. Person should eat within 2 minutes. But the average can eat it within 4 minutes. The 2 kazesim. But the average can eat in 4 minutes. Very b'diavad 9 minutes. Very b'diavad. In Yom Kippur we go the chumrah the other way, right? But in Yom Kippur we say you should stretch it out past 9 minutes of chumrah. But the real share of chilas process is between 3 and 4 minutes. So very b'diavad, a person can stretch out 4 minutes, but she was in 2 minutes.
The time doesn't start till you swallow, right?
So it doesn't start till you swallow.
Chew away.
Chew and then start swallowing. The Emma says it doesn't take that long, especially the thinner matzahs. They go down. We'll discuss all other issues next week. If you have to. Person has a hard time meaning it because it's something in water.
The problem with the guy who gives it to the balabais is giving those to other people. He has to be passing it while we shove it.
We'll speak next week, but the truth is that no, he shouldn't start. He should hand it out before. Everybody should have their kazayis matzah. Everybody should have their kazayis matzah, and then you give a piece from yours. But that's it. That's it. Just break the pizza and that's it. You shouldn't be busy with it. They should have it before you make a bracha. They should have their kazayis. Otherwise, you're right. You make a bracha, and then
they're okay, but you're not okay.
You could technically give it out before you start eating, because you could do that.
Don't make a bracha. You have to eat it right away.
Yeah, but you could do that. You could make it when you cut your challah on Shabbos.
Part of it.
You could.
Take a bite.
You don't have to. It's your Isaac in the mitzvah. So you could give it out because once you start eating, you're right. Once you start eating, then you look. But technically, Pete, you should give out. You should make the share beforehand. You should give it out. While everybody's washing, break it up. Make sure you have enough over here for everybody, and hand it out. And then make the bracha. And then you give a little piece of yours. You put it out, and people will take it. A little piece of yours, and they can start eating. But if you're right, we're going to have to start giving out the share to everybody. It's has to go. Okay, we'll take it up next week. There's another share now.
Sorry, Rabbi, for Korach, you only need 1/5?
1/5.
1/5.
1/5 of a hand matzah. A machine matzah will be about a third.
The Chazon Ish's measurement was how many ounces again? 1 and
2/3.
1 and 2/3.